Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
The Supreme Court is hearing the challenge to the Maratha quota in education and jobs in the state of Maharashtra. With the future of the quota resting with the court, we began KYC on Know Your Constitution this week by telling you about the three major constitutional provisions that you would be hearing about as the case is being heard and the arguments on which the quota has been challenged. Now, the controversy actually surrounds the constitutional validity of Maharashtra's Socially and Educationally Backward Classes Act 2018. This law was based on a report submitted by the Maharashtra State Backward Class Commission under the chairmanship of Justice N.G. Gaikwad. The law provides for a 16% quota for Marathas in educational institutions and government jobs. Now, the law was upheld by the Bombay High Court, but the quota was reduced from 16% to 12% in education and 13% in government jobs. Now, you'd have to know three constitutional provisions to understand why this quota has been challenged. The first one is Article 15(4), which allows the government to make reservations for any socially and educationally backward class of citizens or for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. The second one is Article 16(4). This provision is more specific. It allows the government to make provision for reservation of backward classes in government jobs, but it says that this can be done only if the government feels that a particular backward class is not adequately represented in government jobs. And the third one is Article 342A, which was added through a constitutional amendment in 2018. Now, this article says that the president can notify socially and educationally backward classes for states or union territories after consulting with the governor. So one of the major questions before the Supreme Court is the interplay between these three articles. More specifically, it's whether the Maharashtra government could have recognized Marathas as fit for reservation, citing Articles 15 and 16, or whether it was just the president who could have done it under Article 342A. Since this is a new provision, it would be interesting to see how the Supreme Court interprets it. Another issue with the Maharashtra law is that it increases the total reservation way above 50%. Now, here's a chart displaying the final reservation after adding the Maratha quota. As you can see, the addition increases the total reservation in government jobs to 65% and in educational institutions to 64%. Now, this has been challenged because in the landmark Indra Sawhney judgment, the Supreme Court had ruled that the total reservation should not increase 50%. But the Justice Gaikwad Commission as well as the Bombay High Court felt that there were exceptional circumstances to breach this 50% limit. Now, this has been challenged in the Supreme Court as well. Amidst the political drama in Rajasthan, the BSP is gearing up for a battle of its own. 6 of its MLAs had joined the Congress last year. While the Speaker had accepted this as a merger, the BSP has challenged the merger as illegal. But how does the anti-defection law apply here? And was the Rajasthan BSP MLAs merger with the Congress legal in the first place? Now let me update you with whatever has happened so far. The BSP had won 6 seats in Rajasthan, but all 6 of its MLAs had joined the Congress in September 2019. The Speaker has rejected their disqualification plea, but the BSP is now claiming that this merger isn't legal and has issued a whip to them, directing them to vote against the Congress in case of a no confidence motion in the Assembly. But what does the anti-defection law say about this? 10th schedule of the Constitution prohibits defection to protect the stability of the government. But it has an exception. It says that MLAs would be exempted from disqualification if 2/3 of the members of a party agree to a merger with another party. Also, subpara 2 of paragraph 4 says that merger of a party means merger of a legislative party of that house. In this case, it would be the Rajasthan legislative unit of the BSP and not the BSP at the national level. But BSP is arguing that a state unit of a national party cannot be merged without the party being merged at the national level. While this contention hasn't been conclusively decided in the court, there are precedents to the way the BSP MLAs decided to merge. In July 2019, 10 of the 15 Congress MLAs in Goa joined the BJP. This took BJP's tally to 27 in the 40-member house, and the Speaker also decided not to disqualify them since they formed 2/3 of the strength of the legislative party unit. But the Speaker's decision in this case has been challenged in the Supreme Court. In 2016, 12 out of 15 TDP MLAs joined the TRS. The speaker in this case also recognized this as a merger since 2/3 MLAs had moved. While the world is grappling with COVID-19, students in India are fighting a battle of their own. Earlier this month, the University Grants Commission asked universities to mandatorily conduct final year exams by September end. Now, students from universities across the country then approached the Supreme Court challenging this decision. But the UGC has remained adamant so far, and it is relying on the Constitution to emphasize on the mandatory nature of its guidelines. So on KYC Next, we explain what the Constitution has to do with the UGC. The 7th schedule of the Constitution contains 3 lists: Union list, state list, and the concurrent list. According to Article 246, the central government has exclusive powers to make laws on the subjects in the Union list, while the state government can make laws on the subjects in the state list. As for the concurrent list, both central and state governments can enact laws on the subjects listed under it, but if there is a conflict between such laws, the central law will override the state law. Now, UGC has submitted in the court that the decisions of the state governments such as Delhi and Maharashtra, which have cancelled the exams, are contrary to the UGC guidelines. It has cited entry 66 of the Union list in the court. This entry mentions coordination and determination of standards in institutions for higher education or research and scientific and technical institutions as a part of the Union list. The enactment of the UGC Act 1956 is actually traced to entry 66 of the Union list. UGC has therefore contended that decisions taken by state governments to cancel final year exams will encroach on the Parliament's power under entry 66. Additionally, education forms a part of the concurrent list, but this wasn't always the case. Originally, education was a state subject, but during the emergency imposed by then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, education was shifted to the concurrent list through the 42nd Constitutional Amendment. Of course, it is for the Supreme Court to now decide on the submissions raised by the students that the UGC guidelines violate their fundamental rights under Articles 14 and 21 of the Constitution. This is Apurva Mandhani for The Print. For more such videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.